观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看本期的《对话好莱坞》，我是主持人蓝天。那今天呢，我们非常的荣幸邀请到了知名好莱坞演员 Hal Sparks 来到了我们的节目当中。那他曾经被誉为是芝加哥最搞笑的青少年。那今天就让我们一起来走进他的演艺人生。
How you doing?
Good.
I just want to say I really like what you do. I think it's great.
Thanks.
I'm with Weisenhower, Anderson, Nichols and Knudsen, PR firm in the building. And I just want to say that I think the image you have is fantastic. It's really put together. The costume, this thing, I mean, it's really put together. It's great. I think you could do more than print, though. I think you might want to try some TV. You know, can I riff for you? Can I come up with a couple ideas for you? Just what my company would do? Let's see what I got. How about a children's book? You could have like Charlotte's Web, but without the pig. You know, that kind of thing. How about a line of hammocks? Because it's kind of a web thing. You could do a men's cologne called Thwip. Let me give you a card.
I don't have any pockets.
Yeah. Well, we're writing a bill. It doesn't help. I do that all the time.
Slow elevator.
Hal, why don't you say hi to your audience?
喂，你好，很高兴认识你。And I did get that you said I'm from 芝加哥。
芝加哥。
对对。
Yes.
可是我小的时候我住在肯塔基州。
Oh, Kentucky.
Yeah, when I was very small.
I thought you were talking about KFC.
Yeah, well, that's
you
the
like
thing.
fried chicken.
Like the big chicken, right? That's it, Kentucky. But 芝加哥是我的家乡 my hometown.
Hometown.
Yeah.
故乡. Right.
对。So but 现在我住在洛杉矶。
Right. So
Yeah.
can you tell us what your Chinese name is? Because you were telling me your name is super long, but you have a Chinese name.
我的功夫老师给我我的中文的名字是霍光浩。
霍光浩. Why is it 霍? That's your last name, right?
Yeah.
It's like 霍元甲.
Yeah, right. That's
yeah,
right.
that's a character.
Exactly. That's where he picked it up and where he thought it applied to me. I have 3 black belts, so I started in karate and moved to taekwondo, and then I eventually studied kung fu sansu with Sifu Feng here for 12 years, and then taught under him.
When did you decide that you want to pursue, this industry, the entertainment industry, in your acting career?
When I was, in Kentucky, making a living as an actor or comedian is not possible. It's almost absurd. Like you wouldn't even think that that's something you would do. When I was a kid, I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be Han Solo and I wanted to be Indiana Jones. And then I realized, one guy gets to be both those people.
Right.
I want his job. Whoever gets to play all those things. And it seemed to me at a young age like playing all the time and pretending and doing all that. It's very creative and fun. And when I moved, Chicago is a great city for starting your career in the arts, and because there's no magic. You don't get picked out of nowhere. You don't get tapped on the shoulder because you're pretty. You have to earn it. It's very blue collar in how it's approached. So when you're young, it looks like a ladder, not a magic trick.
Right.
You go to LA or New York, it's like a magic trick. It's so overwhelming, and hopefully someone will spot you.
Well, but it's so saturated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people out there trying to be actors and actresses.
That's true,
I mean, you don't get tapped on the shoulder anymore.
No.
Yeah,
no.
not at all.
But and so Chicago's a better lesson for that. So I studied at Second City. I did plays in Chicago. All during high school, I started doing stand-up comedy, 戏剧演员 when I was 15. Started doing stand-up.
Right.
And then graduated high school and moved to LA.
I mean, who was your biggest inspiration when you were growing up? That made you want to pursue your dreams in the entertainment industry?
I don't know. I was. Me?
Well, that I actually believed it. Yeah.
You know what
no,
I mean?
yeah.
You can look, because if you look for your heroes outside yourself, you'll always be disappointed because they're human beings. And
Right.
you'll set yourself up for this kind of like, oh, I want to be like them.
This
And then
facade,
you'll spend your time
yeah.
emulating them as people.
Right.
And if you can, because whatever you see in them, whatever you like about them, is a character trait inside yourself you want to nurture. So if
Right.
you see strength in somebody else, you see beauty in somebody else, you see talent in somebody else, it's really what you're really seeing is the reflection of the seeds that are in you. And so if you're inspired by that, it's like, oh, I have to grow that inside me. So your inspiration always has to be you. Even if you have people that inspire you, your hero has to be yourself.
Right.
It
I mean,
has
no
to
one
be.
can be you better than yourself.
That's right. That's right.
And
That's
don't
right.
be someone else because everyone is already taken.
That's right.
Right?
Don't try
Yeah.
to copy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, anytime you see something like, wow, that's amazing, how can I do that as me? You know, what's my version of that? Not how can I emulate it? you
Right,
know?
because you moved to Chicago, right, from Kentucky, and
Yeah.
then you were named the funniest teenager in Chicago.
That's right.
I mean, how did all that fame and glory affect you at such a young age? You were still a teenager,
Yeah.
doing stand-up comedy.
You know, I was always arrogant, so it just fed into it. I've always been very conceited, so
Yeah.
it works. The truth is, you need to be a stand-up comedian. You need more confidence right out of the gate. You need arrogance. You genuinely need to be arrogant on some degree, because as an actor, you could take a class, and then eventually everyone in the class will say, "You're a good actor."
You can fake it until
can
you
go
make
do-
it.
Yeah, that's right. You can go and
Right.
do a show. We've all watched you act in here. We've seen
Yeah.
you take a script and turn it real.
Right.
Now you can go get a job.
Right.
Same thing with a singer. I can take you into a studio and we can work and work and work until you get the notes right, and you can train, whether it takes weeks or years. You can decide you're a singer with talent before anyone sees it.
Right.
Stand-up isn't like that. You can't do stand-up in a vacuum. You can't do it at home. You have to be in front of an audience.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not stand-up. It's a one-man show. It's
Right.
totally different. So you have to be completely full of yourself to step
Right.
on stage and think, I'm going to be funny before anybody has ever even
Told
heard
you
a
that you were
word of this.
funny.
Right, exactly. And I always had that because I always was. Hi, how you doing? All right. But there, you know, you have to own that in yourself. You have to go, I trust that I know what's funny and I want the audience to laugh. As long as your desire is right for the audience, they'll enjoy themselves even if your jokes fail. You're having a good time, you're confident, and you're there enjoying the moment. It's already up, you know, buoyant up. If you're insisting that they like you, that's too much weight,
Right.
and you'll fail.
To carry on your
You'll-
shoulders.
The first show will be great, and your second show will be horrible, and you'll never do it again. And that's what happens to everybody.
But one thing though, because you don't see a lot of super young teenager being a stand-up
Right.
comedian, because I mean you need a lot of life experiences to write the jokes, to be funny, to
Yeah,
tell the stories about
Sure.
it. So where did you get your stories or inspiration
Oh,
from?
I grew up poor. That helps a lot.
Okay.
Grow up poor. Because
Okay.
poor provides you with a lot of experiences. Rich, it gives you, or well-to-do, gives you a lot of material experiences. You'll know a lot about what TV shows were on. You'll know a lot about magazines and movies. But you won't have had physical experiences that you can draw from.
Right.
And so growing up in Kentucky and, you know, baling hay for 50 cents an hour and working on a farm and having, you know, creek water for our toilets and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's an experience that, like, by the time I was 15, I was like a Chicago 27-year-old, right? Because of my experience,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I think that's the key, is that if you want to be an artist of any sort at a young age, you have to, understand that it could take you your whole life to get there. You may never be the artist you think you can be until you're 65. You just have to own that and know it and be okay with it. That I might not be the actor I can be until I'm Anthony Hopkins' age. And that's just the fact. And then spend the rest of your time living, experiencing life, you know, falling in love and breaking up and trying to write and create art and living and having jobs and meeting people and failing in conversation and being strong and falling apart and going to weddings and funerals and living your life, so
Right.
that when the time comes and they go, you're playing this guy going through this thing, you have something real to show so
Exactly.
the audience can see it. If you
Right.
don't, then you're just parroting. And again, it goes back to us, you're pretending to be,
Somewhere
most
you're
people
not.
are acting like they've seen other people act.
Right.
There's a lot of that going around. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But I mean, would you say that your comedy comes from your personal experiences? But are they like self-deprecating or, you know, something that happened,
oh, no,
horrible that happened in your past? What's, you know,
no,
what's
I'm not.
going
I
on
don't believe
here?
in self-deprecation, and I think
Right.
false modesty is murder. I think you should own your worth all the time, because the
That's
rest of the
awesome,
world
yeah.
will always punch you in the face. So
Yeah.
you don't need any help. Like, no one's misery needs any help happening. You will
Right.
experience things in life that you have no control over, that are bad enough. Life is bad enough. It doesn't need your help convincing you that you suck. And so it's always important to me to own what you're saying. You know, I had a woman get mad after a show once a long time ago, and she goes, you know, I didn't like your show because that's just your opinion. And I went, yeah, it's my opinion. I'm up there speaking.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say anyone else's opinion. It
Yeah.
has to be my opinion. Yeah. And so a lot of it, what I talk about is not overtly political or personal experiences. Like I don't talk about my relationships. I don't talk about my children, and I don't
okay.
talk about my family, because it's
Okay.
none of your business.
Right.
It's not the audience's business.
Yeah.
I find universal themes and universal experiences we can have, and then I reshape them so that they're funny. So I take an experience we all have, and then
That we can all relate to.
yes, and then I explain how you're stupid. That's right. How you've been handling it poorly, and
goodness.
it's a fun, you know. It comes from an arrogant point of view, but it's funnier that way. I've always enjoyed, from John Cleese at Monty Python and even, you know, Rowan Atkinson's Mr. Bean, this point of view of like absurd strength. Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau, people who think they're full of themselves and then fall down. It's always been very funny to me. So I kind of build it on that
Right.
premise.
So then you decided to move to Chicago, and how did your family take it?
My parents were divorced. My mom lived in Kentucky. My dad had gotten a job in Chicago. And so I decided to move away from living with my mom and go live with my dad. And that was a tough decision. But at 14 years old, I knew that if I stayed in Kentucky, I was just going to die off. I was just going to fade. There was nothing for me there. I knew what I kind of wanted to do with my life, but there was no opportunity whatsoever to do it. And so I had to take that step. And the fact that I did made every step after that super easy. And after that, when I moved to LA, I was like, what am I afraid of? Like, all my friends were like,
Yeah, I
oh my
already
God,
lost everything. I
what
mean-
am I going to do when I get there? I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure out when I get there. I did the same thing when I moved from Kentucky. You just
very
have
courageous.
to go. And a lot of times, it's that idea that once you make a decision in your life that, you know, that's big enough, it doesn't just affect that area. It blossoms out your entire ability. Whatever you want to, you know, if you take a big leap in one area, that big leap affects every other experience, your relationships, your family, your job, your diet and exercise. Like,
It's a cause and effect.
yeah,
kind of thing,
exactly.
yeah.
You drive that thing. It's like beating a barrier that's around you that's like a circle, and it keeps expanding no matter what point you push on it. And so by making that, like, you know what, I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to suffer through it too. Because, you know, you have to, I would always heard you have to pay your dues. You have to pay your dues. Everybody has to pay their dues to get where they want to go. And so every time something bad happened, I was like, I'm paying my dues. This is totally good.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm good. I can check that off. I've been paying my dues. And other people were like, oh, that audition, that was so bad. And they didn't call me back. And I'm like, no, that's dues. You just paid your dues yesterday. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's going to be 1,000 of them. How many auditions did Anthony Hopkins have? The man's 65 when he finally broke through and became knighted and all that stuff. For Pete's sake, like, how arrogant do you have to be to think that you're going to make it soon?
Yeah.
If this is so great, you can. To be an actor is something to be your whole life. To be a director is something you are your whole life. To even be a host, like, you know, The Tonight Show or Kimmel or any of that kind of stuff, like, that's something you could do with your whole life. And so to think that it's going to happen in a snap and you'll be able to just coast is absurd. And so if you can fight that silly thought off and just go, yeah, no, every rung in the ladder is mine. And I did that. I mean, I called the 90s the Sisyphus years, which means you just roll the rock up the hill, and every night it would roll back down. Nothing worked. Everything was just an exercise in futility, day after day.
Right.
And I saw all the kids I went to acting class with pack up and go home. And I didn't. It was that simple. And if there's any lesson to my existence for people, it's just this constant perseverance. My dad actually called once 2 years before I got Talk Soup, and he said, "You're out there. It's not really working out. You're just banging your head against the wall."
How many years has it been?
I've been out 9 years.
9 years, and he called you and said that.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot, but he finally was like, "Okay, you're not doing it. You're not
Yeah.
you haven't broken through yet."
Right.
And by the way, at this point, I'd already produced segments for Disney. I'd been a recurring character on a TV show. I'd done 3 movies. Like I was, I had some success. But he was like, "This is nothing's really happening." He goes, "You just banging your head against the wall." And I said, "Yeah. And I'm going to continue to bang my head against the wall until one of 2 things happens. Either a hole breaks open in the wall, or they go, 'Will you let this idiot in before he breaks the wall down?'" And a year and a half later, I got Talk Soup.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm leading to. It's exactly this kind of positive attitude that got you where you are now. And can you share with us the experiences on the hosting the award-winning
Talk Soup,
Entertainment Talk Soup? Yeah.
Yeah, I had auditioned for that show for 5 years. I went back every year for 5 years. They were going to replace the host, and then they weren't, and they were going to put, it was just this back and forth. By the time they finally saw me, I was pissed. I was angry. Because I was like, this is the 5th year in a row they're doing auditions for that. They're not going to replace the host. They're wasting my time. And I was like, I always have I set goals on my birthday every year. Every New Year's, I have a single goal that I push for the year. Like I have a 10-year plan. I'm always working.
Right.
And so I was in their audition the 5th year. I'm going, you guys aren't even in my mix anymore. I've got other stuff to do. But okay, I'll come back in and I'll do what I'm supposed to do. And they went, and I didn't know at the time that year they had seen 5,000 people and they were down to 10.
Wow.
And one of the casting people said, "We haven't seen Hal this year. Hal didn't come back in. We see him every year."
They're
like
all
a joke.
expecting you?
Yeah, like a joke. Like,
Oh,
where is he?
God.
Like I would show up automatically. Like
Yeah.
like I'm on a newsletter. And they finally called me in. They like, "We're having the finals for this. We've seen you before. If you want to come in, we'd love to have you." And I went, "Yeah, you'd love to have me. Been through this crap before." So I go in, and they gave me rules. They said, "Don't change the script because we need the last 6 words to toss to the clip that we're going to use. That's how the director knows. And
The
don't
cue, right?
don't rewrite any of the jokes, and don't try to make yourself laugh," which is part of the fun of Talk Soup anyways, which I didn't understand. And so I broke all the rules. I did everything.
Of course.
I changed the entire script except the last 6 words of every toss. I would just watch for it to come up, and then I'd automatically roll to it and blow it off. I literally set something up where I was like, I'm going to bust up and ruin the audition by laughing. That was my only goal. I didn't end up doing it because I made them laugh first, and then we had a nice little chat moment, and then we went on with the show. And because they let me do a half an episode as my audition that time. And as I was leaving, because I was like, and I even threw the script over my shoulder when I
You
left.
just didn't care anymore.
Yeah, well,
right?
I
You
didn't
just went
believe
in
them.
for-
I
yeah.
believed in myself.
Right.
And that's, you kind of have to own that,
Right.
And ironically, that's the attitude to do Talk Soup in, let's be honest.
Right.
That irreverent, I don't care what you think is very important. And before that, I might have been just too nice about it. But I was literally so irritated. I chucked the script over my shoulder and went, bye-bye. And I started walking out. And in the little airlock between the studios, because to keep sound out of a studio, they will, have 2 sets of doors. I walked through the first door, and the whole section was full of suits from the network that had been watching in the control room that I didn't know were going to be there that day. I thought they were just putting me on tape for the hell of it.
Right.
And they were all cooing and going, "Oh my God, that was wonderful. Oh my goodness, that was terrific. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Who are you?" And I'm like, "Who am I? I've been coming here for 5 years. You don't know who I am? I'm gonna go choke the casting director to death because you don't know who I am. I've been coming here." And they're like, "What are you doing now?" And what they meant was, "What other projects do you have online?"
Right.
And I went,
What's your
"Well,
schedule?
I got to go look for an apartment today. So, but I'm gonna go hit on the makeup lady first because she was the only person here who was nice to me. So see you later." Because I didn't buy that either. I didn't think they were gonna take me. And I got a phone call the next day. The following Wednesday, I had a meeting, and then the following Monday, I was on the air.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you got this because you were being yourself.
That's right.
And
That's
you broke
right.
all the rules.
That's right.
You've been really nice. You've been too nice for the past 4 years, probably.
That's right. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was very deferential. I was taught to have a certain amount of respect for people's workspaces, people's environment, be a gentleman, all that stuff, which is very valuable.
Right.
But once you're inside the space you own, it's not an excuse to behave badly, but you have to own the space. You have to be okay with being in command of your space. You don't have to be rude to anybody, and I think that's what most people mix up. They think, well, divas act nasty, so if I act nasty, that makes me a diva.
Right.
That's not the same thing. Divas can sing. Stupid people try to interfere with the singing. Divas yell back because they need room to sing, and the stupid people go, she's mean. And, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not how it works at all.
Right.
They're just protecting their space because
Right.
they know what they have to accomplish, and they know that they must have a safe space, to operate in as a talent or whatever.
Right.
That took me a long time.
Right. So would you say that this is your major break for your
yeah,
career?
of course, yeah.
How did you take it?
I knew it would be. And the weekend before I went on the air, so I had this meeting Wednesday, and the first weekend first week was a short week. It was 4th of July.
Yeah.
So we had Monday off. So it was only going to be Tuesday through Friday I was going to tape shows. So I did an experiment. I went down to Santa Monica here in LA, which is an outdoor mall, 3rd Street Promenade.
Outdoor Street.
Yeah, with lots of people.
Lots of
big,
people, yeah.
Outdoor mall. It was always
Super busy.
Yeah, and so I went down there the Saturday before and walked around, knowing full well that this might be the last time I can walk around unrecognized in my life. Period. This
Right.
might be it.
No,
And now it
that's-
could fade or whatever,
that's
but
probably true, yeah.
a show takes off, your whole life is different. Like I
Right.
keep wanting to write I want to write a book about fame called "You Can't Pick Your Nose on a Parade Float," because I don't think anybody preps you for what it's like, the reality of being known. So I went down there on that Saturday and I walked around. Nobody knew who I was. Why would they? And I was just this struggling comedian actor, like so many others. And I was walking around and I got an ice cream or something. And I just walked the entire length of it. The following weekend, after 4 days on the air, just 4 days, I went down there. I literally walked from the parking garage, took 2 steps out onto 3rd Street Promenade, and a guy hit me in the chest with his open palm, went like that, and went, "Hey, Talk Soup guy."
Wow.
That was it. That was just 4 days of being on the air.
Wow.
Now, and I recognized after that I was constantly under surveillance, essentially. That your life is to some degree.
No more privacy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unless you own it. You can have privacy as a famous person. You absolutely
Yeah.
can. But you have to, it requires a lot of subterfuge and a lot of fakery and messing around to make sure that people think you're someplace where you're not and do all kinds of stuff like that. Like when I'm on Instagram or something like that, if I have a picture of where I am or a place where I'm eating, I don't put that picture out while I'm there.
Right. You put it after, like a couple days later.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if it's a place I go regularly, I never post it. Right? What a
Yeah.
stupid idea. But people do it all the time. They're like, yeah, this is my favorite little tea shop. Next thing you know, boom, everybody wants an autograph because that's their place to go and they know you're going to be there. And
Right. Well, I mean, how is it working with a huge production like that? You never really worked with a huge, grand production.
Well, E was a big network.
It's a huge network, yeah.
But the room to do it in is no bigger than this. I mean, Talk Soup itself is it's a green screen and a seat. It was the
Right.
simplest production in the world. As a matter of fact, after doing it for a week, I was like, I could do this at home. Like really, just
Yeah.
like just send me the clips. I'll throw it together for God's sake. That was my attitude about it. But it was interesting to have the network behind you because they have designs on who you are more than you do. And so they'll pick clothes for you and they'll want you to go certain places and they'll want to okay interviews and those kind of things. And that's a curious thing to deal with right away.
Right. Thank you, Hal, for sharing all your stories with me. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to have a lot of fun translating this episode.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a tough one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have to grow my Chinese vocabulary. So
Yeah, I'll
that,
have you do it for me next time.
好
好的，那么以上呢就是我们今天对话好莱坞的全部内容了，感谢大家的收看，我们下一期同一时间再见了，拜拜。
Cheers.